Hi, Bright.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thanks. Good to see you. How are you?
It's been a while. Good.
It's been a while. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation to speak. I was like to the guys, we're lacking someone very important here. I've worked closely with him. He's a guru, right? Thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. It's a pleasure. It's good to be here.
Thank you. So we're expecting about 70 people. Imagine in the past 24 hours, people have registered, right? People are keen to listen in.
Really?
Yeah. I'm going to let the video play a bit, maybe for the next 5 minutes while I just go to the washroom. And then once we can start, and then I'll introduce you, and then you can take it from there.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Brian. And Canada is as well. Very hot. Extremely hot because we're in summer.
Oh, shit.
Extremely hot because we're in summer, but otherwise it's going okay. The family is good. Everyone's good. And how's home? I hear it's cold. Mom was telling me it's very cold.
It's cold, Shem. It's cold, yeah.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. And how's the thesis? Okay. I told you, Brian, you motivate me, hey? I need to do my PhD.
Lots of hard work, trust me.
One day I'll do the PhD. One day.
Yeah, you must.
I spoke to Tabo a few weeks ago. He's doing well. A few months ago, actually.
He's doing well.
Yeah, he's doing well. Okay, Brian, I'll see you. Give me about 5 to 8 minutes. I'll be back.
Okay, cool.
And I see there's Musekiwa. Welcome, Musekiwa, and thank you for joining us. We'll start as soon as a lot of people join. Alrighty, here we go.
Cool.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Just looking at the numbers that we've got. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. My name is Tendai, and I'm the VP for membership for IIBA Zimbabwe. Very, very excited to have you all join us. We aim to have a monthly event as IIBA Zimbabwe, just really educating the business analysis community. Firstly, bringing everyone together, right, as business analysts, and then really bringing thought leaders to the table, right, to share leading practices or best practices as they are known. I see we are on 16. We're expecting about 70 people, but just in the interest of time, I think it's best we start. First of all, I just want to, again, thank everyone who's really come to this session today. I know it takes a lot. It's good for continuous professional development, like they say, right? We, as IIBA Zimbabwe, I think we were formally established in January or February this year. It's been a long time coming. We've got our president. I don't think he's on the call today. He has an engagement, a previous engagement, but we really started this whole chapter idea as far back as 2015 and was only formalized at the beginning of this year. So we're very, very excited. We are still in our infant stages as the IIBA Zimbabwe chapter. We are always looking for volunteers. We're always looking for thought leaders, for speakers. So really, this is not our chapter, right? This is not my chapter or the board's chapter. This is for the business analysis community back home, back in Zimbabwe. So we really encourage you to take ownership, right? Really participate. If you want to volunteer, drop us an email. I will be sharing all of our social media handles towards the end of the presentation. But really, this is for you. This is for you to grow in your professional career, to grow in your business analysis career. Right. I'm very honored, extremely honored to really present Bra Edward Ngubane to the forum today as our main speaker for today. I am sharing his credentials here. He's got over 2 decades, right, work experience in corporate South Africa. He comes here with a lot of thought leadership. I'm just going to highlight a few of his credentials, right? He was the former president for IIBA Zimbabwe chapter, currently the head of business analysis at DVD. He's set up a lot of business analysis community of practice. Right, Ed holds 5 degrees. Yes, guys, 5 degrees. I think we all aim towards that. Excellent achievement, right? He's received many awards as an employee, both as an employee, as a leader. He's really passionate about business analysis. I've read several of his articles. For those who want to read his articles, you can find them on Modern Analyst. You can find them on IT Web. He's been on the IIBA South Africa chapter since 2018 till 2021, and he's still very active with the chapter. Currently completing his PhD. Bra Ed, if there was a qualification after PhD, I'm sure you'd go for it. And he's a certified leadership coach. We are very excited to have you, Bra Ed. Thank you for making the time out, and I'll hand over the floor to you. And you can let us know how you wanted to work with question and answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tendai. Let me share my screen. While I do so, okay, if you can just allow me, give me the rights to share. Okay, so let's see. Okay, I think I can share now. Cool. So I'm just gonna do that quickly. Go to the present mode. And let's do this. Go to the beginning of my presentation. Right. Yeah, thank you so much, Tendai, and you know, just for giving me this opportunity to speak to fellow practitioners in Zimbabwe. You're right. The Zimbabwe chapter has been long in you know, information back as far back as 2015. You're right. There's been an engagement between yourselves and ourselves in South Africa. And I also just want to mention that I think I saw that our president, current president of the South African chapter is here as well. So I'd like to welcome him, Ketelo Malinga, who's now running the chapter after I stepped down. And so welcome, Ketelo. So I just want to then say, you know, so what I'm going to do from a structure perspective, feel free to interrupt me, but I won't be able to see because, you know, the disadvantage is when you are presenting, you can only see your presentation. So you can, you know, then I just let me know if there's someone who's got a question, or alternatively, we can do that at the end of the presentation.
Okay.
I do have quite a few things that I want to chat to you about, so I'm going to try to speed up the pace so that we have time at the end of the session. You know, So this part has already been covered. Thank you so much. I think you've done a great job covering this part. So let me just go straight into it. I just want to start off by saying I'm in an advantageous position because I work for a consulting firm. So I can tell you without a shadow of doubt that there's a huge demand for the BA skill. We see that almost every day. That confirms the relevance of what we're doing. We are in a profession that is in demand, and it's probably because of a number of reasons. Right now, we see that because of the COVID, probably companies are struggling. There's quite a lot of things they want to do. So as they're playing a catch-up game, there's a need for recovery, and also the fact that the world has gone digital. So there's a lot of demand. So we are, at the right place at the right time. That's why it's important that we need to reskill and upskill and always look at how we can make our careers much, much better. And so with that said, I just want to quickly touch on repositioning ourselves as business analysts. I'm of the view that, the fact that, and some of people that have heard me speak, they know that I hate this definition, and I think we should completely move away from it, that a BA is a bridge between IT and business. I see it as a tripartite relationship where at the center we want to create value, but this value we create it from three different spheres. We created one from the business value. So business value is we have to understand what the needs are for business. We have to understand what the return on investment is, and we have to make sure that whatever we work on is aligned to the business strategy. So we are there to make sure that business realizes the money they spend. They make sure that whatever we build, or the guys that build it, is something that meets with their needs from a business perspective. We are also customer representatives, whether the customer is an internal customer or the customer is the man on the street. We are making sure that there is value the customer can derive and should be able to derive value in whatever solution is presented, be it a an IT solution or a business process. So we have to, because of that, we have to at all times understand the market, the target market within which we're operating. Who is this person that we are representing? Because if we don't understand this person, we run a risk of misrepresenting him or her. And what is the value proposition, that we're presenting to him? Why us? Why use our services or our products? What is our value proposition? We help business craft this value proposition, even if we're not at the center or we're not deriving it, but we help business craft it because we understand the market, we understand the customer, and we also understand what are the pain points of the customer. And over and above that, we then work with the IT team to make sure that the solutions that they build are relevant to the customer, they are customer-centric, they are easy to use, they're intuitive, and also business gets its value for money. So this is where we are sitting. Look at ourselves from that three-dimensional perspective of what we do as business analysts. And if you want to expand on that and see how the role, is giving birth to other roles, if for lack of a better word, you will see that, again, looking at those three pillars that I mentioned in the previous slide, as the center, technology, customer, and business, and us as the BAs, you'll see that there's quite a number of variations that are coming, but all of them are using the core skill of business analysis, or our skill as business analysts. You have, if you look from a business perspective, you can see that product ownership touches a little bit on business analysis, if not more. Strategy advisors, that's where we aspire to be as business analysts. Digital business analysts, I spoke earlier on about digitization as the thing that's driving the growth, both in terms of customer experience and opening or unlocking new revenue streams for business. A lot of businesses have been formed based on what technology can provide. So that's from a digital perspective. And you look at processes. We have to ensure that the process analysts are actually a subset of business analysts because they're using our skills. UI UX specialists, which are now an entity on their own or a separate, a standalone profession, they come from business analysts, or they use our skills, they're embedded in what we do with a focus on customers, which is customer centricity or centricity. And I'm sure by now you heard that there's quite a lot of data here, data there, because the world is data driven. Everything is driven by data. So there's a lot of opportunities that are coming up, and these are the careers that are in demand. These are the skills that are in demand. We're seeing a re-emergence of requirements of process analysts in the market, something that was slowly dying down. Not so much of process automation, I must be honest. We see a lot of demand in data analysis skills, and even more so, to bring it closer to home, we see a lot of demand of business analysts that are technical. So I thought, let me just touch on these, just to contextualize our conversation. But our conversation today is really more about how do we position ourselves as business analysts so that we appeal to our stakeholders, so that we become those people that they cannot do without. I want to, as I get into this, I just want to paint a picture in terms of how we perceived. And this is coming from real life. This is real data that I'm talking about. One, and this is because I told them consulting, these are perceptions that come from some of our clients, and they paint different scenarios. One of our clients said to me, maybe that the BA has documented all our processes, right? And that is perception one. And perception two, so I just want to move this out of the way. Perception, I'm happy that the BA did not only focus on the BA work, but identified areas where we can create, where we can improve our business operation and created efficiencies in our processes. So that is the second perception. One, this clients views us as only the documenters, right? But the second one views us as going beyond being documenters. We're creating efficiencies, we're improving on processes. And the third one, which is unfortunate, actually we do not need a BA. The Scrum Master can also write user stories. I'm sure you probably might have had or experienced something like this. And the fourth one is they're not a component that we cannot do without. So if you look at perception 3 and perception 4, these are the most unfortunate perceptions. Perception 1 is a very limited perception, how we perceive. Ideally, perception 2 is where we want to be as business analysts. This is how we want to be perceived by our stakeholders, right? Now, I want to pause and ask you to kind of, personalize this and look and do some self-introspection and say, how do you think you are perceived by your stakeholders? Are you perceived as someone whose job is just to do the documents, write documents, whether it's user stories, whether it's BRSs, whatever the case may be? Or are you perceived as that person that, goes way beyond that? Or you're just perceived as, what, actually, we don't need this person. Scrum Master or someone else can do what they do. Or actually, we can do without them completely. So we are not a component that they cannot do without, which is also very dangerous. So, but there's this behavior, which I'm going to go into, that leads to this perception. This perception just don't happen overnight. And we can't fold our arms and plead innocence and say, you know what, we don't know why these people or why our stakeholders look at it this way. We had nothing to do with it. Unfortunately, we do have something to do with it. And the only way of fixing the problem is by introspecting and looking at ourselves and saying, what are the things that are tripping us, So these are some of the things from a behavior perspective that are tripping us into being those BAs that our stakeholders cannot do without, not the BAs that our stakeholders can do without. One, lack of enthusiasm. This is something that you do not buy anyway, and we do have BAs that are not showing enthusiasm in what they do. If you are not enthusiastic about what you do, how do you expect other people to be enthusiastic about you? Failure to take ownership. We don't own what we do. We are so apologetic about it. It's like someone else has to do it on our behalf. We don't take initiative. We fail to deliver what we promise. Because when you promise someone, let me just emphasize that, because this also goes to professionalism. When we say, I'm going to get this done for you by tomorrow, you must deliver on your word, because you've made a promise and people are going to hold you accountable. They may not challenge you day one or day two, but they are not forgiving because they know that this person is not reliable. So you are perceived, now your value diminishes. The value, that you carry, that your stakeholders look at, have for you, diminishes by the day. Poorly written requirements, we don't take time to make sure that we hone our craft, so that we write good requirements. Our attitude also becomes our hindrance, because remember, we work with people. So that's why if you look at the bottom, that says a people's business. The message that I want to leave you with, if you forget everything that I've said, just remember that business analysis is a people's business. Because it's a people's business, we have to be very careful about how we engage and how we build the relationship. And sometimes we always say, no question is a stupid question. You must be very careful. Sometimes when you ask relevant questions, and how do you do that? Because you haven't done your homework to understand the lay of the land, you end up asking irrelevant questions. You lose credibility over a period of time if you continuously asking relevant questions, because it means you haven't taken the time to figure out what's going on. Lack of domain knowledge. You are in this area, you are not showing any, yes, I understand if you just started, people can forgive you up to a certain period, but remember, the world is not forgiving. And also one of the things that we should always avoid at all costs, getting caught up or being the source of office politics or office gossip. It is very, very dangerous because it damages how our stakeholders perceive us. Okay. And when you look at how we manage our stakeholders, this is another thing, some of the blind spots that keep to, and these are complaints that like I told you, I come from consulting. So these are complaints that we get in the real life situation when you get feedback, and then these things come up, we say, actually, these are important things that we should be looking at as business analysts. If you are in a session, you're in a meeting, this is a project, things are going wrong, there's challenges, you're sitting there, you're not contributing, you are not sharing, you're letting the PM or you're letting the Scrum Master take over. So you are devaluing, your value is diminishing as time goes on. So these are things that you have to be careful about. I've already mentioned not being proactive, waiting to be told, waiting to be asked for progress. Instead of you managing, I always say you must always manage up. Don't wait for your stakeholders to be asking you or to be for progress. You have to be telling them where things are, and even raising, if there's any challenges or what, just make sure that you communicate. This goes for hand in glove with the communication skill, and which talks to your underdeveloped interpersonal skills. You do not communicate because the job that we do forces us, whether you're introverted or not, forget being introverted. Once you step into your BA role, you can be introverted all you want at home in your lounge. No one's bother you, but with the minute you are in the space, you have to get out of that introverted space, and because it's all about communication, and we have to demonstrate that we're competent enough. If we have review sessions, we demonstrate, you keep doing it until you get it right, and also most importantly, the approach, how we approach our stakeholders, because sometimes it's really, you're good at what you do, but you don't have diplomacy. Remember I said it's about business, it's about people. You don't have diplomacy, you lack the approach, you wrap stakeholders of the wrong way, and sometimes we allow, because our world changes so much, sometimes we allow, when the project gets canned or gets cancelled, we allow it to demotivate us. And the minute we are demotivated, we start being negative and we start radiating negative energy around us. And because of that, we are not top of mind to our stakeholders, and we start losing some credibility and traction in that regard. So these are most common criticism that are labeled against business analysts. I can tell you, go anywhere, ask feedback about BAs. 9 out of 10 times, some of these things will come up. And these are things that can be fixed. As long as we are aware of them, we fix them so that they don't become a hindrance in our profession as business analysts. For some reason, my PC just it's frozen now. So, okay, let's try again. because suddenly I don't know why.
We do have a question while you're doing that. Bright, should we wait till the
Okay.
end, or would you want to
No, let's
address the question?
let's take the question now because I'm also trying
Okay.
to get my.
Okay, cool. Daisy, I'll allow you to speak up and raise your question.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for the session. So my question is, how does a new BA improve on writing great requirements? I saw you mentioned something about poor requirements. So as a new BA that's starting off, how would you advise one to actually be better in writing great requirements? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. Because you have to continuously, firstly, you have to attend sessions like the IIBA sessions, or you have to attend any training that might be deemed useful, or you have to do, ask your colleagues who are senior for peer review, and be open enough and allow yourself to be vulnerable when they criticize you, to say, you know what, this is not right, this is can be improved this way, and accept that. Because what I do find sometimes is people ask for feedback, right? But they are not prepared to accept it, and in that way, it's a missed opportunity for growing, because it's only true. And let's be honest, it's not great to be told that you're not doing well. That it's a fact of life. Everyone wants to be told that they're doing well. So sometimes what will happen is, when that happens, you find that you are more on the defensive side, but you miss the opportunity to grow. So it's either you go for proper training in terms of the courses, or you ask for peer guidance. You identify in your team who are the senior people, because there should be seniors. And if they're not, if you don't have them internally, go outside and then present what you have done, and ask them to critique it and accept the feedback, because that's how you're going to grow. If you don't accept it, you're not going to be able to grow. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just trying
Thank you,
again. I don't
Daisy.
know why suddenly it's stuck on a slide.
Stuck. Okay, while you're still trying to share, anyone else with questions, Bright, even if it's still stuck, maybe you can just send me an email perhaps, and then I can share it. We can just try different methods if worse comes to worse. But anyone else have any other questions?
Yeah, sorry, which sometimes can do its own thing, because suddenly it's stuck on this slide and it doesn't want to move forward. But let me try again. I'm gonna stop sharing. I think between Zoom and Teams these days, there's just endless issues. Let's try again.
Not to worry, it's always expected, right? Whenever we are doing some sort of event. Okay.
You know what I can do? Let me just close my PowerPoint completely.
Okay.
Because maybe the problem might be with PowerPoint itself.
Okay.
Let me close, yeah. But we so long. I do have a few things that I want to say to you guys. So let me stop sharing and just kill. Just forgive me. I just want to minimize this so that I can have some space. I think probably it could be that the issue is on my side with the machine. Okay, can you give me probably 3 minutes? I need to restart my machine. I think
sure.
That
that means you'll join. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just play a video in the meantime.
Yes,
okay.
I think the solution is let me restart my machine.
Restart. All right. Everyone, if you can just bear, thank you, Bright. If you can just bear with us while Bright starts his laptop, I'll just share a couple of videos.
Because I see everything is just frozen now. I'll have to give you the code. Yeah.
Okay, so you'll rejoin. Okay, he's frozen. Okay, guys, just give us a few minutes while we try and sort out Bright, and I'll just play some videos in the meantime.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Good to see you back.
Finally back. Let's hope this problem is sorted. Let
Thank
me
you.
share again.
Alrighty.
Yeah. So just give me 1 second.
Okay. Thank you for your patience, everyone, and thank you, Brian.
No, thank you for your patience.
Alrighty.
Let's see if this works now. Okay, looks like problem is solved. Cool.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, I think maybe there were some updates that needed to run.
Okay, great.
I'm also guilty of not shutting my PC down. Okay, so I've spoken about this. Yeah, so what I was saying was, I think we don't realize that what we do, bulk of what we do is actually hidden beneath the surface. We always take off the tip of the iceberg. So we always see what we do as the end result, the systems and processes and products. Those are tangible, visible. About 20% of what we do is actually this. But we're so fixated on this because it's what people can see. And we forget that actually the bulk of what makes us to be good analysts is actually underneath the surface. So all these hidden dynamics, the people, the emotions, the egos, because we're dealing with people, we're dealing with our stakeholders, their egos, the politics, the power trips. So it makes our job even more complicated because we have to navigate through all these unspoken and unseen, yet realistic and quite impactful and can be frustrating, can be a source of your unhappiness as a business analyst. If you're not smart enough, firstly, to identify them, secondly, to be able to navigate about them, or thirdly, if you're not emotionally mature in terms of how you can speak about them. So I've spoken about this slide as well. So I'm going to go to this, as I was just saying in my previous slide. If you look at a day of in the life of a business analyst, we're dealing with people or stakeholders that have got various mandates. They've got various interests. They've got various agendas. Let's be realistic. There's power play, there's that power dynamics, this head and that head, and this area and that area, and all of these things we're caught in the middle as business analysts, right? And sometimes this might be a point of frustration because you feel that I'm being pulled in so many directions because I go to this one, they say this, I go to that one, they say that, and it's easy to actually lose direction or lose focus and lose yourself, So that is why you have to have your stakeholder management skill quite up to standard and up to scratch. Your EQ needs to be quite high, So in doing so, you have to be smart and strategic about it. You need to understand your stakeholders, and you need to look at them and scan them and classify them in these three spheres that I put them. I put them under green, amber, and red. And let's just go a bit into the green ones. So the green ones, these are your stakeholders. You already have those ones that are sold. They sold on what you offer. Because they believe in you and your capabilities, and they will defend you in your absence. Those are your green stakeholders. You need to scan and understand and identify, these are my green stakeholders, right? and you have your AMBA stakeholders. These are the ones that are not sure of your capabilities. You know, they might be willing to give you a chance, but depending on how you make use of the chance, they can either go red or they can go green. You know, so it's quite important. And then you have your stakeholders that are green. Hopefully, you have very few of these ones, or you don't have them at all. Because if you have more of your stakeholders, either amber or green, sorry, or red, and very few that are green, you are in trouble as a business analyst because we deliver through other people. You might lose or win their support, those that are red, and they're skeptical about you, right? And they may not be willing to give you a chance, you know. So how do you manage the situation? Firstly, you have to must have your EQ high enough to pick up these stakeholders, right? Because the fact of the matter is you don't choose the people you work with, you find yourself in this situation. So you have to be able to navigate and make the most out of the situation we're in. So firstly, the ones that are green, do not disappoint them. You gave them a promise, I will get this done. You made them a promise, I will get this done by this afternoon. Get it done by this afternoon. If you can't get it done by this afternoon, make them aware why you couldn't get it done. Don't just say, you know what, this one is in my corner, so it doesn't really matter. Even if I can get it done next week, it's a problem. You are eating into that value that you have. You are slowly chipping away, which is what we don't want to happen, right? Then the ones that are amber, that are sitting on the fence, you know, so these ones are the ones that you have to demonstrate through your skills that, you know what, I'm the right person to have on this project because I can do this. And, you know, through your skills and through your personal and through your attitude, you are slowly moving them to say, you know what, this is the person that I can work with. Because remember, people work well with people that they like. And but I'll talk more about that like as well. That also it buys you. It's not an airtime that doesn't run out. It has got to be supported by your skills. But it's important, and you have to make it happen. You know, and the ones that are red, you have to disarm them with your diplomacy. Understand them, some of them, for an example, I'll give you a simple example. When you deal with your stakeholders, some stakeholders don't like to be sent a two-liner on email, right? Some of them want the full details. Some of them are happy with a phone call. Some of them want you to sit with them one-on-one and explain what you're doing. Some of them are happy if you just explain in a group. So you have to study them and divide and conquer your stakeholders, use different approaches, and make sure that one of the mistakes that I've seen that the BAs will do, especially if they're not experienced enough in this game, because this is a people's game, remember, it's a people's business. When they're not experienced enough, what they will do is you have a workshop. You call everyone in the workshop at the same time. You haven't taken the time to get individual buy-in and familiarize them and identify the most influential people. You must identify the most influential people in the organization and in the business or in the department or in the project. Those are the people that you talk to first, so that they are on your side. By the time you have the workshop, these people become your spokespeople. They defend you. They actually even, you know, they make sure that because other people, when they see these ones already aligning up with you, they also line up with you automatically. So I've seen PAs where you have a highly influential solutions architect, for an example, and you are working on this change, and you haven't spent time explaining it to him or her so that they can feel important. That's important. We cannot run away from that, whether we like it or not. Feel important, so you are stroking his ego or her ego. And secondly, make sure that they have time to process and think of what you're trying to achieve. They understand, they conceptualize the solution, right? You go into a workshop, this person you have not made this connection with him or her. Immediately when you try to present, they tear you to pieces. Guess what? The entire workshop is gone. It's derailed. I've seen people coming out of these workshops crying. It's because they've made the fundamental mistake of not identifying the stakeholders and dividing and understand who of the stakeholders I need by my side all the time, and who of the stakeholders I need to just, maybe inform them later, but they are fine, and most importantly, one of the mistakes that we make in the workplace, we always wait for a review session. Your manager needs to initiate a review. you ask for the review yourself, ask for feedback, ask for feedback informally and formally, because in that way you are improving what I call a stakeholder satisfaction index, because you are going to say to the stakeholder, you know what, where can I improve? What do you think I'm lacking? And when people see you do that, I'm telling you, they see that actually this person is really, really focused and determined to improve, rather than wait for after 6 months, your manager initiates performance review, to ask for feedback about you. And if they never ask, you never ask yourself, whose career is it anyway? Let's be honest. It's not your manager's career. It's your career. You have to manage it, So continuing with that line of understanding your stakeholders, like I said, our job is more about understanding people and less about building solutions. But we think the other way around. We think our job is about building solutions. No. Firstly, we understand people, then we build solutions that meet their needs, which means even our stakeholders, we have to understand them. There are those that we have to make sure that we keep satisfied at all times. There are those that we have to make sure that we manage very closely. You never move without talking to them. There are those that you have to monitor in terms of where they are and follow them. And there are those that you have to make sure that they are all the time informed. This is what I'm doing. This is what we're doing. What do you think? The art of influence. Let me tell you the art of influence. The art of influence is to make sure that it's your idea that the other person think, but the other person think is their idea. Doesn't really matter who owns it. But what you want to make sure that whatever you want to get done is done, and you are influencing. So we influence business in going a certain route in terms of the solutions. We influence the dev guys to be able to pick our requirements. In a pile of 100 things that they have to do, they have to pick your requirements, because you've got a good relationship and say, you know what, I'll see, I have a lot of things to do, but I'll make a plan for you. It is based on us in terms of how we manage our stakeholders, right? And then the other thing that is very key is this big word. Sometimes I don't even know how to pronounce it, but you can see it. It means disambiguate. So we create, because what I do find that sometimes us as business analysts, we create a lot of complexity rather than we simplify things, and we don't add value. We confuse our stakeholders, right? So we need to be able to develop the skill of, simplifying things. We have to be specific in what we say. Because otherwise the stakeholders say, okay, he's just made matters worse. We have to make sure that there's common understanding. There's various ways of making sure that there's common understanding. Things like rehashing, things like replaying, are we on this? Is this what I do? This is what you mean? Am I getting it correctly? Or summarizing after a session, summarizing on email and highlighting the key points, and whoever was in that session, all of them, you say, okay, we discussed A, B, C, D. This is the what we agreed on. These were the challenges. This is the way forward. As simple as that, I can tell you, it buys you a lot of points as a business analyst, because then people realize this guy is actually good at what they do, And it's not rocket science. It's not magic. It's not for a chosen few. It's for everyone, it's for everyone. Okay. So you also use commonly known terms, this is what you should be able to be doing as a person. Just 1 second, guys. This being a father here, I'm being disturbed by my daughter. 1 second. Sorry. Sorry about that. Anyway, let's move to the next one. And also, you have to have confidence to raise your objection. However, is this the way of raising objection as a business analyst? Or is this a way of raising objection as a business analyst? Or is this the way of raising objection as a business analyst? Because obviously you are also not there just to go with the flow. This is not a way because it's confrontational. This is also not a way because it's timid. It's like, I'm not sure, but this one shows confidence. You know what? I don't agree with you. And these are the reasons, because remember, our argument is not led by emotions. Our argument is not led by our feelings, but it is led by the facts, so we have to have that balance. We have to have that act of balancing. This presentation is running away from me, but I'll keep it under control. So we have to have that art of balancing how we raise the alarm without alienating our stakeholders, so that's quite important. And these are skills that we learn and we keep honing and we keep sharpening as we become better at our profession, because I did say it is about people, what we do. And also you have to have that big picture thinking. Unfortunately, the context is everything. You have to show that you understand context. Whenever you work on a project, paint that picture. I'm a big fan of a context diagram, because I think such a powerful tool of ensuring that everyone is on the same page. The scope, we agree on scope, we prioritize, we do so many things based on this technique, which is I have a full session that I do on context diagram only, but I'm just giving you an overview to say, always have that helicopter view, the ability to say, okay, let's see the big picture of what we're working with. And if you do that, because you must realize that some of the stakeholders are, the way they think, they're all over the show, and it's fine, because they're not us. They don't have the skill that we have as analysts. We have the skill of dissecting. We have the skill of, let's put this thing, let's break it into pieces and put it together as logical, units. So that is where we guide them. And by showing them contextually where we are, what systems are impacted, what areas are impacted within the organization. Are we missing any key stakeholder? What does this stakeholder need from us, or what does this stakeholder need from us? What is in scope? How can you prioritize or deprioritize, right? You using your skill as a business analyst with your stakeholders, and the stakeholders realize, what, this person is the right person, because they're guiding us. Because remember, our thinking is also logical. Our thinking is analytical, but it's also logical, because there's a structure, there's a thought process behind the things we do, and we bring this to the party, right? You can then, you demonstrate, you have an understanding of where the product is going in terms of the product roadmap. Or if you don't have an understanding, if there's no understanding, you drive this understanding with business, because otherwise, if you don't drive this, it's going to continue to be chaotic, and you are just adding to the chaos. Now, when you are with the stakeholders, you say, guys, I have a technique that I think we can use. Let's look at the product roadmap for an example as a technique, so that we see from a priority, we see from budget, we see the constraints of the skills and the constraints of time, those basic project management principles. For some of you who've done project management, you look at that to say, these are the things, let's work together as a team, but you're driving the conversation. And your stakeholders, being the tech guys, being the developers, being whoever, the operations guys, they see that, what, with this person, we need this person in conversations, because they do create some structure in us. At all times, bearing in mind that you are looking at the customer, because the customer centricity is at the point, because how we develop or how we see the return on investment from an MVP perspective, we see it by because we can't do everything all at once, which is sometimes the problem. That's why sometimes we feel overwhelmed as business analysts, because we feel, what, we're looking at people that want to do everything all at once, but we're not taking steps to showing them that actually it doesn't make sense. This is the approach that we should be using. Things like, for an example, when you are looking at, you say, okay, let's break it down using story mapping, for example. Let's map out a story. And when you map out the story, we can understand, because this is how you derive value. This is how you derive value to the customer, by making sure that the story, because remember, whatever solution we are presenting to the customer, whatever product we are presenting, we're selling, whatever service we're selling, it is in line with, fulfilling a story in the customer's life, So when you map a story, then you can understand what is more important to solve Edward's problem as our customer. And if you demonstrate this skill to your stakeholders, whether it's business, whether it's technology, then they start realizing that, what, we're dealing with a business analyst that knows what they're doing. We're dealing with a business analyst that we have to have at all times, because remember, the idea is for you to be in the conversations. And also show that you understand business. Decompose the business functionally. I always like to say decompose functionally. And when I say decompose functionally, I mean look at it holistically, because all businesses are structured in a certain way. That's why there's workflow systems that are sold by these big companies, because they've understood that a business operates in this particular way. So why can't we as business analysts structure our thinking, structure the value that we're adding to business by saying, let's look at you as a business, as a department or as a unit, to say whatever change we're bringing in, whatever change we're working with, touches on all these bits and pieces of the organization. And if we do that, one, we don't miss key stakeholders. Number two, we make sure that each area has an opportunity to give us whatever piece or whatever requirement they have. Number three, we know that there's a plan to roll out whatever solution we're working with or working on, so that, for an example, marketing, what's the marketing strategy? We're rolling out this product. Have you thought about it? Are you going above the line or going below the line? And what's the budget for it? From a finance perspective, from a product, are we pricing this correctly? I'm a big believer in pricing, because pricing means a lot. You can miss, you can have a fantastic product, but if it's not priced correctly, you can miss it completely. The take on may not be there because it's not priced correctly. Or if it's underpriced, it's an opportunity, it's a missed opportunity again to generate more revenue. Because we are in it, we need to demonstrate our business thinking, that there's also when we are there to help business make more money, by making sure that the customer also gets what they're asking for, or the experience, the customer experience is improved. Legal risk and compliance, HR operations. This is how the conversations that we have when we have our workshops. We have these workshops, we have prepared, we know what we're asking. It's not a workshop where everyone feels, what a waste of my time. I spend half of my day, I don't even know where we started, I don't know where we're going, I don't know what are the outputs, but we had a PA there, and the PA himself or herself ends up being confused. So that is those are the things that we have to be careful about as business analysts. And also, but having said that, I also want to highlight the fact that, we have to be prepared as business analysts to be in the line of fire. We have to be prepared to have our work scrutinized. We have to be prepared to carry the blame that the requirements were not signed off. We have to be prepared to get, to be blamed for functionality that was not developed well, right? Because of the work that we're doing. And because of that's why it's important that we make sure that we do our work in a way that is as efficient as possible to end up being this kind of a PA, a super PA, and it's possible we can. You have to be tough, you have to have that thick skin, because sometimes when the code, something is not working, they're not going to say the developer didn't develop properly. They'll say the PA didn't do the requirements properly. Okay. So you have to make sure that, and it's a choice really, in terms of your career. Do you want to be seen as this PA, the PA that's like weak and not sure what they're doing, or do you want to be seen as this PA that, this is our super guy, we need this guy. This is our strategist. This guy has perfected the art of working with people, because when we are with him or when we're with her, we trust what they're saying, and we know that we are in good hands, So we need to move from that perspective of being seen as a weakling to that perspective of being seen as a superstar. And I can tell you now, we have those levels of business analysts. Whether you like it or not, we have the high flyers, we have the just okay, the average Joes, and then we have, this one, we don't even know what we can do to get him out of the system of business analysis. So we don't want that. We want you to move to be the high flyer, and you can do that by making sure that, firstly, your technical skills are up to scratch. And when I talk about technical skills, I'm talking about the modeling skills, your analysis skills, and also your people skills, which is what we've spoken about at length here, to say how do you manage, how to build a relationship, how do you navigate, the political landscape, because it's a political landscape, whether you like it or not. Organizations are made of people, and people are political, but make sure that you are not part of that of the politics. and you navigate that, So your people skills definitely are important. We've spoken about that. But you must remember that the people skills by themselves have got a limited time span. Because no matter, you're a nice guy, you're a nice lady, people love you, when you come, they smile, they're happy, you make everyone laugh, you make everyone feel good about themselves. As a business analyst, yes, that will happen, but it's got a limited time span if it's not backed up by your technical skills, which is the foundation. Because without this foundation, you'll end up, having that image that is shaky. As much as people like you, say, I do like him. We do like her. She's a nice person, but no, we can't handle these poor requirements that keep coming from him or her. So we have to avoid that. That's why we have to balance that. But at the same time, your technical skills by themselves are not going to help you to for people to open doors for you. But your people skills at the same time do have a sell by date if they're not backed up by your technical skills and vice versa. So these are the things that we should be looking out for as business analysts, to be on top of our game, to be the best BAs that we can be. And it's possible, trust me. Like I said, this is not rocket science, continuously learning how to elicit requirements. What techniques are out there? What techniques can I use? Use variation of techniques. Go and search. And the BA book is is a wealth of knowledge that's there. That's got so much techniques that I can use. Our problem is we don't want to try things out. But if you try them, you realize actually these things will help me a lot in doing my job better. And also, how do I have a methodical approach of identifying, extracting business requirements, business rules from my stakeholders? Because business do not speak our language. They will give you 2 paragraphs, but in those 2 paragraphs, they don't even know that they're giving you business rules. You have to be able to identify and extract them and tell them and play them back to the business and say, okay, so it means this is a rule because of this and this and this and this. How to compile business skills, how to facilitate sessions. Sometimes you shy away because we're intimidated. I would say start with your team, which is a safe space. If you want to learn how to facilitate sessions, start with a team, build up your confidence, but keep doing it. No one was born a star. You have to fail and start trying again until you get it right. How to decompose your complex business problems, because it's always about let's decompose in its simplest form and reconstruct into the complex form. So be flexible and be adaptable. Please realize that things do change. The things, there's plan A, and then we try plan A, it doesn't work out, plan B and plan C. So again, if things change, don't let that, discourage you or demotivate you to a period where stakeholders find you unpleasant. There you are, you're upset, you don't want to talk to anyone because you've been working this project for 6 months, now they're canning it. Okay, yes, they're canning it. It happens, such is life. Our business has changed, the priorities have changed, such is life. Now you don't want to talk to your stakeholders, or you are upset with them. No, it is life. You have to be realistic. Like I said before, business analysts deliver to others. So you have to be a negotiator. You must learn how to negotiate. What does this mean? It means at times you have to be able to beg. You have to be willing to beg. I'm begging you, please, can you do this thing for me? Because sometimes you need information from this person. Now, the problem is we let pride come in our way, and that doesn't help us, because remember, this person knows something. So you have to, and even if it means bribing them with coffee, whatever the case may be, but because you're aiming to build that relationship, But there are times when you have to instruct, and instruct based on the confidence that, what, I've done my work, I've researched, I can prove this is how it's supposed to be done. I'm backed by facts. Therefore, I'm instructing you as technology. This is how you should do it, because this is what it means this to our business. This is the importance to our customers. So you have to be, but again, you can't do this if you don't have you haven't done your homework, right? If you don't know how things work, if you haven't done the research that is required. So you can't do this, you know. At times you have to persuade, you know, shift the perspective, move, you know, people from this view to this view. But this, I must tell you, persuasion comes with trust and confidence. The more you deliver, the more you do your work well, the more they trust you, the more they trust your judgment, the more your opinion, the more they say, you know what, you know, let's ask Tendai, you know, Tendai, what do you think? Should we be doing it this way? And I said, no, actually, it's not the right way to do it. Okay, no, we trust him. But it's based on the trust that has been built over a period of time due to the hard work that is put in. So be willing, or you have to, not that you have to be willing, you have to put in the hard work. Unfortunately, there's no shortcut. And last but not least, demonstrate passion. You know, passion is something that cannot be bought. If you don't enjoy being a business analyst, do yourself a favor. Find what you're passionate about. Don't do business analysis so that it pays your bills at the end of the month, because you're going to be miserable. And if you're miserable, you're not going to be the best version of yourself. If you're not the best version of yourself, your stakeholders are going to lose faith in you. And you'll be surprised why you're always skipped when there's projects that are happening, because they feel that you're not passionate, you're not dedicated, you're not driven. You know, passion is contagious. If I'm passionate about what I'm doing, I make everyone around me. It's the same as confidence. If I'm confident about what I'm saying, I make everyone be confident in me, because they see it in me that I'm confident and I'm passionate, and then everyone in the team, you know, rallies around you. So it's important that we are passionate about business analysis, because then it enables us to endear ourselves to our stakeholders, and it enables us to be the better PAs we can be. I do apologize that that glitch cost us a few minutes, but I tried to not to overrun too much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to stop sharing now.
Great, thank you. Wow, Brian. The nuggets or the pearls of wisdom that you've dropped over the past 45 to 1 hour. I was just writing so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to open up the floor for any questions for Brian. Please feel free to unmute yourself. While you guys are thinking of your questions, you know, Brian, I wrote down a few nuggets that you spoke to, right? Really being a multi-dimensional business analyst, right? Being a people's business. You said business analysis is all about being a people's business. You spoke about the BA blind spots, right? I should admit some of those blind spots, I was like, oh gosh, I fall into that category, right? And then you gave us tips in terms of the different colors, right, with stakeholders, right? And not only just what do they mean, but how can you really encounter and really be a better BA with those tips, right? And then you really spoke about, I loved the word disambiguate, right? Which is simplifying, bringing clarity to complexity, right? So those are the key nuggets that I found, you know, over the past 45 minutes. Thank you so much. I see a question from Stacy. Stacy, feel free to unmute yourself and pose your questions to Brian.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, Stacy.
Hi, everyone. My question, basically, I'm still young in the industry, and I've been working in accounting and finance, and I've been told that I have potential in business analysis. So how does one actually start a career going the business analysis route, moving from maybe in my industry, accounting and finance, and getting into business analysis to actually then start practicing? Or how does one actually get into all of that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think we all have different stories in terms of how we got into business analysis, because there's not one way, you know, as the entry point. There are various approaches. One, obviously, doing a certification in business analysis so that it grounds you, it gives you the basic. But I do find that I'm not really the biggest fan of doing certification before you actually get exposure, because that training becomes a piece of paper. You can't relate it back to you know, the things at work. So it's always better to tag along in your organization. If there are BAs, raise your hand, tag along, and assist with the small changes over and above what you're doing, because And I'll tell you why. People always make a mistake, especially in terms of career progression. We tend to apply ourselves 100% to what we are employed for, right? And there's no growth in us to the next level. So you need to make sure that, you know, at any given time, 20% of what you're doing has got nothing to do with your current job, is what you're looking forward to, you know, because that's how, firstly, I mean, there's a reason probably we've been identified as having the potential, because it means you are demonstrating over and above what you're doing and demonstrating that 20% of, you know, your prospects. So that's one thing that we always have to do, operate over and above, because when people say, no, but this is not in my job description. No, this is not for me to do. How then are you going to grow if you're not willing to do that? That's the first thing. The second thing is, then what you do is you then tag along in your current organization with your PAs that are in the team. So, you know what, can I assist here and there in terms of the small changes? Then you start learning the language. Then you start learning the changes, start learning the discipline. And by so doing, you're able to start adding that to your CV and then start looking out in the market. That it's a process. It's not a 2 months thing. It's not a 3 months thing. It's not a 6 months thing. Sometimes you want things to happen overnight. You know, good things do not just come overnight. You know, you have to be able to invest time in them. It can take you a year, it can take you 2 years. But because when you do that, then someone else will be willing to give you a chance, a junior BA, based on what they see, that, you know what, you're a little bit familiar. And then at that time, you can start doing some BA-related courses. I find that sometimes you put the cart before the horse by doing the courses and thinking the courses are going to open the doors for us. Sometimes they might, depending on your luck, but that's not the only way. Try the practical on-the-job training by volunteering, by saying, you know what, can I see what you're doing? I can assist. Obviously, you discuss with your manager to say, this is my career aspiration from a development plan. This is where I plan to go. And if there are opportunities or there's assistance in the other area, the manager, you've got that understanding. And if you've got a manager who's about people development, they would be willing to assist you in the area. And you find that in the team, when there's an opening for junior PA, I always say it's easy for people to switch careers within the organizations than especially when you are at the lower level. I mean, when you're senior, it's a different story. But when you're at the lower level, it's much, much easier. Because these people, number one, is a safety net. They know that, you know what, you're not there yet, but willing to give you a chance. You may fail, make mistakes. You know, they're not as harsh as if I employ you and employ you into being a PA role. I expect you to already be knowing a few things already. So those are the things that I would advise you to do. I hope that somehow helps or makes sense.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. That was very helpful.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, Stacey.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Stacey, for your question. Any other questions or comments?
Hello.
Ernest, yes, you can go ahead, Ernest.
Okay, I was asking like, how do you really, like, you as me, I'm in the IT industry, and I'm also thinking of moving, also combining the two, IT and business analyst. So I haven't studied business analyst yet, but it's something that I was looking forward to combine with my IT skills. So how do I go about it, combining the IT and the business side of things, of being a business analyst with IT, or to combine the two as a career? I'm already an IT.
Okay, and sorry, your line, there was a bit of latency there, so I caught some of the stuff you're saying, but not everything. But if I may summarize,
An IT student, but I also want to do business analyst. Like, I want to combine the two, IT and business, because I have some things, I have businesses that I run alongside. So, hello?
Yes.
Hello?
We hear you, Ernest.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I was saying, like, I have some business that I do aside, besides my IT career. So it requires skills of business analyst. So I was asking, how do I combine of being a business analyst and also being an IT? How do I go about it as a IT student?
Yeah, so I mean, if you already are technical, you already one step ahead. That's a plus for you, because the bulk of what we do, remember, it's split into two. If you look at from a solution perspective, there's a huge IT component, which means delivering the solution or the service through the capability that IT provides us with, or from a process perspective in terms of optimizing the processes. So already, if you are in that IT space, you already understand the technical world, which is a huge component of what we do. And then on top of that, now, how do you then bring in the business analysis part? The business analysis part then talks to two aspects. It talks one to customer experience, and it talks to the revenue generation or the models. How do we make money as an organization? What are the levers that help us to make money? What is important to us so that we prioritize what we take to the market? So if you understand the landscape of the market, understanding the market landscape goes into various aspects. You have to understand the competitors. You have to understand the regulatory environment to say what regulates, what can be done and what cannot be done. You have to understand what are the products and services that are in demand, what do customers need. That is from a business perspective. And earlier on, I spoke about the pricing aspect, to say, how do we package and price this so that it's a story that means something to me. Remember the story mapping that I spoke about? This means something to me. I can relate, I buy this product because it meets with my life, or in terms of from a story perspective. So if you show those understandings, because if you only from an IT perspective, IT is only about building systems. They're using the latest technology. I'm skilled here, but I may build anything. But do I build what the customer needs? No. And how do I get to know that? Because I understand who the customer is. I understand what they're struggling about or struggling with, and I understand what can I bring in that will make their lives easier. But how do I bring it in such that I make enough money, which is the business part to it? And how do I do that within the legal constraints so that I'm not breaking the law, the regulatory landscape? I understand the regulatory, all right, and et cetera, et cetera. So when you look at that from that perspective, then it talks about understanding business. Understanding business goes a long way, because there's so many aspects to understanding business, more than just, this cost me 2 rands. But again, am I doing it ethically? So I don't know whether I'm answering the question.
Ernest, I think he's got a poor line there.
Got a problem, yeah.
Okay, I heard you. Thank you very much for the contribution.
It's a pleasure, yeah. So that's why I'm saying, I think as business analysts, we have to have the inclination of understanding how the product is performing. Because not only stop at building the product, because if you stop at building the product, it means we're only concerned about the systems. But we have to understand, speak to the BI guy.
Okay, Bright Ed, I'm not sure about the rest of the guys, but I think the network is a bit iffy. And can you hear us, Bright Ed? Okay, let's just give him a minute to come back. Rumbi, I see you've got a question. Hopefully, Bright Ed will be back with us, and then you can answer your question. Okay, I see Bright Ed has just dropped off. Let's see if he will be back. Then we can go to one more question, and then probably we can close off. Okay. Okay, you're back. You're back, Bright.
I don't know, sorry. Yeah, so I could hear you still.
Okay, great.
Was a glitch, yeah. So I was just saying, it's important that we track the performance of the product. That gives us the business. Yeah. So when you work on an initiative, we make sure that we know how it's performing, why it is not performing. We didn't price it correctly, or we didn't understand, we didn't build it correctly. Why are there drop-offs? You know, so to avoid that, yeah.
Great. Thank you, Bright.
Okay.
We had Rumbi just also raise a hand, and then I think we can close off. But Rumbi, please go ahead and ask your question. Rumbi, are you there? Okay, you've just muted. If you can just unmute yourself. Okay, your network is quite. Yes, we can now.
Okay, it's fine. I wanted to ask if you are already a BA, right? And you have maybe 1 year and some months experience. How do you boost your confidence to be able to get your stakeholders to be so confident in you, considering that you're new in the industry and you're trying to build your career in the industry, and you already have other fellow BAs who have maybe 5 years experience, and you're being given same kind of tasks, and because you don't have that much experience, you might not be able to deliver as compared to the ones which have 5 years plus experience. So how do you then get to boost your confidence to get your shareholders to get your stakeholders to boost confidence in you?
Okay, so the first thing that, and I always advise people about this, to say, get closer to the testing guys. You see, no one understands the system better than the tester in any organization. Forget the developers. The developers develop and move on to something else. So firstly, start there. Go and work and sit with the testers. Let them show you the system in and out, whatever is happening, and break it, because they have a license to break things, right? So break things with them, because in that process, you get to understand and you learn. And when you learn that, you pick up a lot of things that is on the system side, right? And that enables you to have confidence in the conversations, because remember, stakeholders start to trust you when you demonstrate confidence. And demonstrating confidence means I know what I'm talking about. I've done my homework. Yes, I may be wrong here and there because I don't have a full understanding, but I've done a bit of research. And then identify the people that you see, these ones know better and are willing. People are not going to come to your desk. Let me tell you something, which I know and I've learned in life. People are not going to come to your desk and say, you know what, Rumbi, let me hold you by the hand. But if you go to them, say, you know what, do you have time? Can you spend time with me? This is what I'm not sure about. You show that inquisitiveness, then you'll be surprised how many people are willing to help you. So you do that. And number three, from a product or from a business perspective, speak to the people that are just say, I want to understand how this era works. What can I read? What are the reports that are there? And you when you ask for information, they will give it to you. And if you don't understand, you go up and say, you know what, I have it, but can you explain this to me? But the mistake that we do is sit back. And then so we expect people to do that. When you keep coming and keep asking and keep knocking, you'll be surprised. People will say, wow, okay, this person is really, really keen. And they're demonstrating the willingness to learn. They'll support you. Yeah. Even the ones that you say have got 5 years, 6 years, if they see that you are willing to learn and you're hungry, they will support you. That's the key thing that I can tell you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Rumbi, for your question. Thank you, Bright, for your response. Any other questions before we close off? We did start a bit later and we just had a few network disruptions, so we can go in for a few more minutes if there are any burning questions you have for Bright. Anyone? Okay, Bright. On behalf of the board, Bright, and on behalf of the IIBA Zimbabwe community, chapter community, we really want to thank you for the past hour and a half. It has been so enlightening. I'm sure every person on this call can testify that they've they've had a light bulb moment, right, throughout your presentation. Very well received. Thank you again for your thought leadership and for you driving the profession, right, in Southern Africa. And we hope to see you more often with the IIBA Zimbabwe chapter community. Everyone else on the call, thank you so much for joining. I will be sharing my screen. I just want to share all of our social media handles. Please like, please comment, please follow us. We are on LinkedIn, we are on YouTube, we do have a website. So please feel free to like anything there, comment, really share anything you have. If you've got any other peers that you're aware of that are in business analysis in the industry, right, please feel free to share that there is a Zimbabwe chapter. There is something that's formal, that's out there, that we want to encourage everyone to really come together. Thank you so much, guys. I will be ending the call now, and we'll see you soon at our next event. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Thanks,
take care.
everyone. Okay, cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.